You know, the phone in your hand, the way you work, shop, even connect with people. Our whole world has been totally reshaped, and in less time than a single person's life. So, how on earth did we get here? Well, that's what we're going to do today. We're taking a super fast journey through the key moments, the big inventions that really kicked off the digital revolution.
All right, let's get into it. Here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the digital dawn. Then, how things got personal and connected. After that, we'll see the world go online, then stuff that whole revolution into your pocket. And finally, we'll land right where we are today, in this always-on world.
And check this out. Our whole story takes place in less than one lifetime. It all kicks off back in 1947 with this one tiny invention, the transistor. And it brings us all the way to today where, billions of us are plugged into this massive digital world. It's just an absolutely incredible story of things moving faster and faster.
So let's start at the very beginning. We're talking about a time of enormous room-sized machines and these huge one-off breakthroughs. I mean, these are the absolute foundational pieces, the building blocks that made everything else we're going to talk about even possible.
Okay, so everything, and I mean everything, starts with this little guy, the transistor. It was invented back in 1947, and you can think of it as a microscopic on-off switch. It's the most basic building block that lets computers, well, compute. Seriously, without this thing, none of our modern tech would even exist. It's not an exaggeration to say it was the single seed that the entire digital forest grew from.
And it didn't take long. Just 4 years after the transistor was invented, we started to see what it could do. The first ever commercial computer comes out, and this thing was a monster, a total behemoth that took up a whole room. But it could do basic math and process data at a speed that was just unimaginable back then. This was it. The digital brain was officially born.
All right, so we've got these giant, lonely brains. The next big step? Well, let's jump into the era where these machines started to shrink down, get a bit more personal, and this is the really key part. They started talking to each other. This is where the whole idea of a network really comes to life.
And boom, two massive things happen, like right after one another. First, in 1969, you get ARPANET. You can think of this as the granddaddy of the internet, a government project that was the first real push for connectivity. Then, just 2 years later, something really simple and human happens. The first email gets sent from one machine to another. And just like that, the global conversation had officially started.
And you know what's so funny about this? The actual content of that first world-changing message, it wasn't some deep, profound quote like one small step for man or anything. Nope. The guy who sent it, Ray Tomlinson, he said it was probably just a bunch of nonsense, something like QWERTY UYOP, just the top row of his keyboard. It's kind of a perfect, humble start for a technology that was about to change literally everything.
If you want to see just how fast things were progressing, just look at the first mobile phone from 1984. The specs on this thing they're almost hard to believe now. It cost about $4,000. It took 10 hours to charge for 30 minutes of talk time. And all it did was make calls. That's it. It's a great example of miniaturization starting to happen, but man, we were a long way from it being accessible to normal people. I mean, just compare that brick to the supercomputer you've got in your pocket right now.
So, okay, the pieces are starting to come together, right? We've got computers, we have networks, we even have these early mobile things. But it was one invention in the 90s that was like the spark that lit the whole fuse. This is what really, truly brought the entire world online.
So, in 1989, a guy named Tim Berners-Lee, working at CERN, invents the World Wide Web. It was basically a user-friendly way to navigate the internet, which was pretty clunky before then. This was the huge leap forward in accessibility. By 91, it's out there for the public, and by 94, you could actually get it at home. Yeah, with that classic screechy dial-up modem sound. The web was officially open for business. For everybody.
But you have to remember, even with this massive breakthrough, it was still tiny. Back around 1990, only 0.05% of the world's population was online. Think about that. It was this super niche, specialist tool that was just sitting there, right on the edge of absolutely exploding into the mainstream.
And, of course, what happens when you get more people in one place?
They want to connect with each other. It's just human nature. So in 1997, this site called 6 Degrees comes along. It let people make profiles, add friends. Sound familiar? This was really the first big step into online socialization, and it basically laid the blueprint for all the social media giants we know today.
Okay, let's jump into the 2000s, and you gotta buckle up here because this is where the pace of change just becomes insane. It's almost dizzying. This is the decade when everything, the internet, fast connections, and massive computing power all came together and got crammed right into our pockets.
I mean, the pace is just staggering. Look at this 5-year period. The whole world got completely rewired. 2003, Skype launches, and suddenly distance doesn't matter anymore with video calls. 2004, Facebook is born and turns the internet into our new backyard. 2005, YouTube gives everyone on the planet a stage to share videos. And then, 2007, the iPhone. It tied everything together, put a real computer in everyone's pocket, and smartphone use just exploded.
And that basically brings us to right now, to our current world. This is the point where the digital revolution isn't just about what's on a screen anymore. The line between what's digital and what's physical, well, it's getting seriously blurry. I mean, think about it. Digital information is literally leaving the screen. We can 3D print physical objects from a digital file. We have currencies like Bitcoin that are just data. We have AI driving actual cars on our actual streets. And with things like VR, we can step completely inside a digital world. I mean, this isn't some far-off sci-fi movie anymore. This is just reality now.
So when you zoom out and look at the whole story, from a computer that filled a room all the way to virtual reality, you see it wasn't just a bunch of random events. It's all been driven by 4 big ideas, 4 forces really. First, miniaturization, making things smaller and way more powerful. Then, connectivity, linking all those devices and people together. Third, accessibility, making it cheap and easy enough for all of us to use. And finally, socialization, using all that tech to feed our basic human need to connect with one another.
And that's our trip from 1947 all the way to today. And if there's one thing we've seen, it's that the pace of all this change is just getting faster. This story isn't over, not by a long shot. We're all living right in the middle of it, which, of course, leaves us with the biggest, most exciting question there is. What's next?